You mentioned Chris Williamson as a client, obviously one of the biggest podcasters in the world, and extremely admirable in terms of the way that he does what we've been discussing. He's very concise. He uses words when they apply and when they add to the conversation. Very, very great at what he does. One of the best, as his popularity shows. Well earned. What tools have you put into his pockets to help bring that out? Because I know you speak about, I don't want to be Chris Williamson. I don't want to be, Churchill. I don't want to be any of these people. I want to be a better version of me, and I want to bring my personality out, and I want to speak the way that I can. What are some tools that you've put into his pocket that allowed him to be the best version of himself?
Great question. So I've been working with Chris for a long time, 5 years, I think, in total at the moment. And one of the first ports of call that we had, or that I wanted to bring into his way of thinking, was what we've already discussed in this call, and remembering that every interview, every presentation, every podcast appearance, it's just a conversation between two people. It's not a big conversation with 1,000 or 1,000,000 or 2.5 million people at once. It's that level of intimacy that comes from just merely having a conversation and remembering what those good pillars are of a good conversation. Accepting offers, presenting an offer back to the other person, letting them take it, and then presenting another one back, building upon what's been said. That then encourages us to be good active listeners, because we're not just going through our pre-prescribed list of corporate interview questions. What's brilliant about you, Chase, is that you're a great active listener. Okay. You're listening to what I'm saying. You're picking up on things that I have said or may have said or have said in the past, and bringing that in, because an audience will never forgive you if you just glide over or ignore something that's been said where there may be some real meat or some more substance or something to really add to the conversation. So starting with that abstract point of it, it's a conversation. It's merely a conversation. We know how to have good conversations because we have them all the time. How can I bring this into the podcast field? How can I bring this into the speaking on the world stage field? How can I bring this into my theatrical performances, which are now part of what Chris does? Okay, he's not just a podcaster now. These are live shows. He's an international speaker now, speaking on these humongous stages, humongous, in a very short space of time, which is amazing. It's just incredibly admirable. I'm full of respect and admiration for him. And he's a fantastic guy, first and foremost, and just wonderful to work with. So taking those bare points of it's just a conversation, which again feels so basic, but everybody's forgotten it. And it's worth bringing that onto the table. So that's definitely one of the big portions of his toolkit, that idea. And again, this sense of just letting the sound sit there, giving yourself space and room to maneuver, and also being brave enough to say that, actually, I don't know that book. I've never heard of that person. Tell me more. It's very refreshing. We all like to sometimes appear that we are more intelligent than we're letting on sometimes. And that then comes on a nice slice of inauthenticity and a slice of falseness, because you're ultimately starting a lie almost. That feels quite unsettling. When someone says, you read this book? Yes, yeah, of course I have. Yeah, great book. Yeah, fantastic. You are quickly found out, by the way, with that. But also that's how, learning and the transference of art and the transference of interest happens from that point of, I've never heard of that. Like you, I'm going to buy that book and read it. I've heard Miles talk about it. I'm going to buy that and look at it. Equally, some of the stuff you said on this call, I would definitely look at after. It's this sense of, I'm not aware of this, but it's affected somebody in a very, very important way. It bears me giving it some space and time. I respect the person I'm speaking to because they're being honest with me. I feel as though I can be honest with them. It's like your friend who you say, have you seen this film? Oh, yes, I've seen this film. And they've never seen this film. You just know they haven't seen it, but you play along with them for a bit. And then you finally get to a point where they say, oh, no, I've seen the trailer. I haven't actually seen the film, and you think, oh, I need to just say.
Yeah.
So it's those ideas that we've explored first and foremost, which then open the floodgates into other areas, reviewing podcast episodes, for example, and that sort of thing. So it's this idea of it's a conversation, basking in the authority of stopping the sound and just feeling as though you can interject and say that you haven't read or heard of something, or just politely butt in to a conversation with your point of view or your level of insight that's going to help bolster what's happening there.
I think that's extremely important. And it's funny enough, the reason I started my podcast and the reason why I always wanted to is I've been listening to podcasts back, 2014, 2015, started with Tim Ferriss and, all these OG podcasters.
Yeah.
And I would always listen and I'd be like, this guest just said something fantastic and you didn't dig into that. You just went right over it. And it was so frustrating to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I want to ask the questions because I want to know what he meant there. And I want to dive into that more. And
we're
when
always baying for blood, aren't we? As an audience, we're always baying for blood. We want to see our heroes in disastrous situations and see how they get out of it. So you're quite right. It's so frustrating when that happens, when someone glides over something explosive and just carries on to the next question. It then becomes a corporate interview, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly right. And that's why my whole philosophy when I do these is I do my research. I inform myself about the guests. I read their books if they have them. I watch previous podcasts or read articles. And then I only script my first question. I want something to get the conversation going. And then from there, I have no notes. I don't have anything in front of me. I'm just listening and I'm engaging.
So you're just reacting to what's going on, which is a great way to be. A great way to be.